Alrighty, folks, we are going to have a conversation. We're going to get vulnerable for a minute. We have had numerous technology challenges this morning, but we're still going to make it happen with Mr. Brian Adamson. How you doing, sir?
That would be politely put, Mike.
We've had 20 minutes of frustration, haven't we?
No doubt about it.
Well, we were originally going to talk about 5 flaws of myself. We're now going to talk about 2. These are things, again, I think being vulnerable is important. When I was in the back of the room at WealthCon, I kind of jotted these 5 things down because I had a chance to think, decompress, listen to other stories. The first one we're going to talk about is not asking for help. And the second one is I didn't think getting wealthy was possible. Brian, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for working through all of these technical issues with me. Dealer's choice. Which one do you want to rap about first?
Let's go not thinking becoming wealthy is possible. Let's start with that one.
Yeah. So I remember when I started my journey, it's in my book. My vision was I'm going to work for 40 years. I'll retire at 65. And my grand vision, Brian, was I would have 4 free and clear properties. That was it. That was the dream. And why was that the dream? Because I did think that would provide me a better retirement than most, and it certainly would have. But it never clicked. And this is after reading 100 books, after Rich Dad Poor Dad, after The Richest Man in Babylon, after Think and Grow Rich. I read all those books, and my grand vision was I'm going to have 4 free and clear rental property. I mean, being a millionaire I just never thought it was possible. I didn't grow up around wealth. I didn't know anybody that was rich. The only thing I knew about money is we didn't have any, and it was loud and violent, and money was a problem. So I just thought everybody worked. You died at work or you just kept going forward. So it's never even clicked that, wealth was a possibility. I thought I just never saw it, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Cause I come from similar background as you, right? In terms of grew up really blue collar, I grew up in an 800 square foot bungalow home, right? I never realized it was that small for a family of 5 until after obviously buying homes and all the rest of it. I'm like, dang, we used to live in but it felt normal, right?
Right.
Like we weren't just on top of one another. But I'm gonna tell you the unique experience I had is I always felt like I was gonna have a lot of money.
I never had that.
Since about the age of 12, right? And I don't take any credit for it. I think God put it there, honestly. Like I just always was more aspirational beyond my circumstances. Now, what's interesting about that though is what I thought was wealthy were the people in the streets hustling that had the nice car, that had the nice house, that had the nice clothes. So I think part of that also did give me a little bit of aspirational thinking. It's just that obviously the pursuit of that was flawed, right? By emulating the same things that they were doing, but I think that did give me a snapshot of what an aspirational life could look like. And I'm gonna tell you, I think I've had more of the reverse effect in that after I made $1 million and did all those things. I think that's when the fear and the doubt kicked in. So I think I had the reverse effect to where, although I didn't have anybody that I could touch and call on that was seemingly wealthy in my circle, that always felt like it was possible. But when I got there, then I started to have the adverse effect of, will I stay here?
Interesting. And how did you overcome that? Clearly you have. Oh, you really still haven't? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I haven't. I really been wrestling with this, I don't know if that's a healthy thing, because maybe it's the thing that keeps me driven at this level as if I'm not,
right?
As opposed to just thinking that now that you're here, that you should seemingly always stay here.
Interesting. We're gonna have to talk more about this. We're gonna make this list the thing that we wrap about next week. so we can go deeper, given the technology issues. Let's go on to the second one real quick,
Okay.
because there's a lot more to talk here. But given we teased two, we should at least get the other one. And first one is it's really weird because I have considered it my superpower and celebrated it on this channel. You and I've celebrated it with you, and
Mm-hmm.
that is my ability to focus and do the work consistently and not be bothered by repeatedly doing the work. It is my superpower, focus, daily discipline. But the kryptonite of that is I don't ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ask for help. There's obviously childhood trauma or some crap all around that I just don't ask for help. I don't, I'm going to figure out on my own. I'm going to go forward. I don't, it's weird. I've just realized this, by watching some of the presentations at WealthCon. I was like, damn it. I should have. And again, I'm not saying pay for coaching. I'm afraid people will hear that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying get around other people that are doing what you want to do. Just getting in new groups, getting around people doing whether it's YouTube or real estate or, you know, growing an entrepreneurship business, getting around others that are doing it. There's an energy, there's just goodness there. I I mean, I could look back at everything in my real estate and YouTube. I just don't ask for help, man. I just don't.
Yeah, you and I could share, I think, similarly in this struggle. So this is actually gonna be funny. So I pay for mentorship, but I don't ask for help.
Wow. Okay. Tell
Right.
me.
So let me explain, right? Before like the comments are gonna light up behind this comment, by the way. But here's what I mean by that. So I spend tens of thousands, if not six figures a year on coaching, just depending on what's going on, right?
Hmm.
When I get in these coaching environments, I'm leveraging the network that I'm in now, as well as I'm gleaning from the coach.
Hmm.
But what I do a horrible job at is oftentimes while I'm gleaning from the coach, I'm just trying to go out and implement what I'm learning. I don't come back to ask enough follow-up questions for help.
Ah.
That's what I mean by I pay for mentorship, but I don't ask for help. And that's something that I've been consciously aware of. It is a weakness of mine that I
Oh,
need to get better at.
me too.
Um, but I'm so used to, like we were just talking about it, right? Like I created a life that I never saw before. So I think subconsciously part of that, this allows me to to ask for help at the levels in which I should, even when I have it readily accessible to me. And part of
Yeah.
it also, I think, is trauma that I grew up, whether I accepted it or not, kind of in a performance based environment.
Hmm.
I felt like my love was received through me being away or achieving certain things, and so I think that performance based um, kind of trauma just is carried over to where
Yeah.
it's like I feel like, well, if you got the information, then of course you should go and do X, Y, Z. Going back to ask for more help is almost like failing, if that makes sense.
I think we both need to admit that this is a weakness, which we have, but I want the
Mm.
audience to hear this. I want them, if you're trying to do something and you've done it for a while, it is a 100% okay to ask for help. And maybe you don't want to call it help. Maybe you call it advice. Maybe advice is a better word. There are lots of people on the spectrum of whatever you want to do. And if you can find that person that's just a couple of steps ahead of you, nobody I've ever met won't help, won't listen. Folks, it is, oh, please don't do what I did. Just lean your head down, get in the mud, and don't look up. That's the thing. That's why I call it my kryptonite. I just get down and I'm like a horse in a derby race, right? There's blinders on. I don't see anybody else.
Yeah,
I'm going that way. But you know what? If you look around and see other horses, maybe maybe there's other way. So it's okay to ask for help, right?
yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, it actually is a superpower. I love people who ask great questions. So much so that I always acknowledge them. So you were at WealthCon this past week. I was at Fun Launch. One of my buddies, he was like, I got an extra ticket. You want to go? I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
But one thing that I admire about him is he gets in the room, and I don't care from the lowest to the highest, he's asking everybody questions, right? Legitimate questions where he's asking for help. And it's a gift, man, you know, for him to be able to move around like that, unencumbered in thought. And he gets a lot out of that, out of that type of practice. And so yeah, I just acknowledge it and I celebrate it in others. And it's definitely something I need to improve upon in myself.
Folks, we've had some technology issues. We're gonna have to call this one short. We're gonna get into the list of my 5 flaws, whatever you want to call it, in a future episode. But Brian, you're putting out a lot of amazing stuff. You're helping a lot of people. You were vulnerable here as well. Where can people find you?
Brian Adamson Official on YouTube, Instagram, and everywhere else.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you. Take care.
Thank you, man.
Mhm.